So welcome everyone to the final presentation in the Canvas Experiences presentation series. We have another good one today with Stephanie Hernandez and Liz Lake from the Spanish and Portuguese department here on the Twin Cities campus. I am Tony Lyson from Academic Technology Support Services, and I want to thank you for attending in person or virtually all of the events that we've had. We've had a good turnout. So if this final event is your first one, I do want to give the quick overview about Canvas. So Canvas is a learning management system like Moodle. They do a lot of the same things in slightly different ways. And the reason we're looking at Canvas is because we joined the Unison Consortium along with several Big Ten colleagues of ours and other institutions across the nation. And part of joining the consortium meant that we had to pilot Canvas. And since we are piloting let me back up a bit. We now have to make the decision about whether we'll use Canvas going forward, and that decision is going to be made by, or the recommendation, will be made by ALTA, the University Learning Teaching or Technology Advisors, which is composed of faculty and staff, though only faculty vote, from across the entire system. There has been a change since the last presentation last week. Academic Technology from OIT is now officially supporting the proposal to ALTA. And we're doing that because we do believe Canvas is the best way for the university to move forward. So ALTA will make a recommendation to the provost, who in combination with the CIO, will ultimately decide whether we do switch to Canvas. I believe that decision is made in late April, early May at some point. If you do want to learn more about Academic Technology's stance, you can attend the AT ICOP, which is actually this upcoming Monday at 10 a.m. in Humphrey 50B. So please do join if you want a little bit more information about why Academic Technology from OIT has made this decision. If you want to try Canvas, we have a whole bunch of different flavors of how you can try it out. We have the Canvas resource site, which anyone can just pop in. You don't have to sign up for anything. You can explore it. You're going to be exploring it more as a student than a teacher, but it is a good way to get an introduction to Canvas. You can also request a sandbox site. Or if you really want to get into it, you can actually still apply to join for spring 2017 to actually have a real course on Canvas. You can get more information about all those things at the bottom of one of my lengthy and many emails that I have sent out about this. Just scroll all the way to the bottom. There's all sorts of links down there. You can also find additional information on the Twin Cities website. If you go there and just do a search for Canvas, the first thing that'll pop up is the Canvas pilot project. So a lot of information there. Or just email me and I can send you additional information. So I've used up way too much time already. We don't have a whole lot of time, so I will now turn it over to Stephanie Hernandez and Liz Lake.
Okay, good morning. My name is Liz Lake, and I am an instructor in the Spanish department. I've been teaching here. Oh, is it not on? No? Hello? Hello? Oh, yeah, you're on. Okay. And I've been teaching here at the University of Minnesota for the last 13 years, I believe. So I've kind of lived through even having Moodle go course-wide in our sections. So let my colleague introduce herself.
Yeah, I'm Stephanie Hernandez. I am a teaching specialist in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese, and this is my 4th year as a full-time instructor. I was a grad student instructor as well. And yeah, like Liz, I've lived through, I remember using WebCT, and when Moodle was just like something that people talked about, so. Anyway, so what are we gonna talk to you guys about today? We're gonna tell you a little bit about our courses, 1001, 1002, 1003, where we've used Canvas. We are then gonna kind of break down that Canvas experience for you And finally, we'll save time for questions and hopefully answers, right?
Or at least opinions.
Opinions, yes. Okay, so without further ado, and I guess, I don't know, I'm pretty flexible. If you have questions while we're going, feel free to ask if that's okay with the format. Okay, cool. All right, so a little bit about 1001 and 1002. So that's Spanish, beginning Spanish 1, beginning Spanish 2 here at the U. It's a multi-section course, but unlike what you're going to see with 1003, it's a small multi-section course. So we're talking 5 sections of 1001 each fall, feeding into 4 sections of 1002 each spring. We do not have a course-wide Moodle site. The course supervisor in the past never really used Moodle, so when I started using Moodle for Spanish 1001 and 1002, I didn't really have anything that I had to inherit, okay, which I think will make sense as we talk about our Canvas experiences. In the past, 1001 and 1002 both meant 5 days a week for 1 hour. It's a 5-credit course. But then that kind of, like we'll also see with 1003, molded into a 4-day-a-week face-to-face course with 1 hour a week kind of reserved for online activities. And we have, so we've used Moodle and My Spanish Lab, which is their online homework.
So I'll talk a little bit about Spanish 1003. As Stephanie mentioned, it's a larger course. That is to say, we have more sections of it. And just a little bit of history of the course. We used to meet 5 days a week as well, probably about 10 years ago. And then I think about 5 years ago, and at that time, people would use WebCT or not. It was an option, right? As an instructor, you could choose to use it, but it wasn't a course or departmental mandated necessity, right, to have a Moodle site for your course. So about 5 years ago, we piloted some hybrid classes, and we found that a kind of a compromise between a fully hybrid class where they only met 3 days a week versus meeting 5 days a week was a 4+1 model, and that's the model that of the site that I transferred over to Canvas. And the idea behind the 4+1 model is that they would have 4 days of class. And then the Friday, they would have off, but they would have commensurate work online. And so that's where Moodle came into place, and that's when Moodle became course-wide and mandated. Every instructor got a course-designed Moodle site. And so, again, the Moodle site that I copied over was created probably 6 years ago. So if you think about technology, that's a long time ago. But anyway, the site itself is maintained by the course supervisor, and as Stephanie mentioned, we have a second-party online workbook that goes with our publisher's textbook. Okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the transfer process then, and what kind of activities we had on Moodle originally when we switched to that 4+1 model. So the idea was that we gave them a guided reading over the weekend, and part of those guided readings is called a lectura guiada, and it was set up as a lesson in Moodle. And so within the lessons, you would have different readings, short readings that the students would do. Sometimes there was video. And to accompany that video input and those readings, the students would complete online quizzes, they would complete foros, and they would complete short paragraph writing assignments. The paragraph writing assignments were turned in through Turnitin, and then using the forum and also the quiz modules in Moodle. Okay, and then, let's see, all of the instructors also had a grade book that came with that course-wide site, and you were able to put up course materials if you wanted to. Not all instructors did, but if you wanted to, you could put those up. And some instructors use attendance, I used attendance, and so those were the items that were on there. So I want to take a look at the Moodle site real quick, maybe. Okay, so this is my site from this fall. I'm not actually using Canvas this fall. And you'll see that I was telling Tony before we started today, I think of the structure of Moodle like a filing cabinet, right? You have to scroll all the time. You have to open folders all the time. I really think of it as a filing cabinet. And you can see that our site reflects that. So this top part is basically the syllabus and all the information that you need for the syllabus. So you have to scroll, and so the students are doing this to get information about the different components of our course. Now, of course, if you go back up here, you can use the section links. That'll get you, once you're into the course, that will get you to the week you want to be in. So it's a little bit faster. There are workarounds. But the layout isn't internet-based, right? It's not you click a link and you go immediately there. You have to scroll and move around and open things up all the time, which I think our students don't like doing, and I don't like doing it either. But let me just bring you through one of the lecturas guiadas, because you're going to see how this transferred over into Moodle. So here we go, lectura guiada, some information, then the student presses continue, lots of clicking, more information. You're continuing. Oops. Okay, so you get the idea. And if you were to open up a quiz, the quiz would go out to another window as well. So it's just, the navigation is not really smooth. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Canvas site. Oops. Okay, and there we go. I worked with Kim Wilcox. She was the person who was responsible for transferring over the site that you just saw, or a version of the site that you just saw, over to Canvas. And the history of it was that one of my colleagues, Pablo Viedma, had actually piloted Canvas in 1003 the semester before I did. So Kim basically had a version of the course ready to go for me, because I was using the same template as Pablo. And one of the things that she had worked out with Pablo was to put these links on the front page so that students could get to all of those modules that I was showing you that you had to go through the scrolling to get to, or using the link thing on top. And that's nice, but then again, once you get to the activities, because the structure was copied over from Moodle, you're really in that same situation where you're clicking through things. So if I go in, this is the introduction. I didn't want to do this, actually. I'm going to go back. Oops. Come on. I'm having issues. Sorry about that. I'm going to choose a better, I'm going to actually go into the information about the course, the scroll of death from before. So here, you have a little bit of information, not a lot. I actually added these links so that the documents were right there instead of being separate documents. But again, you're just going through all of this information. You keep having to click. The PDFs will pop up. So, I mean, everything that was wrong with our Moodle site got transferred over to Canvas. And as I worked with the Canvas site, I saw what the potential was. I saw what the just cleaning up all of these navigation issues that you've kind of witnessed from me poking through my two sites. I think that Canvas has the potential to clean those up. But I think the university has to think long and hard about this idea of just transferring sites over. Because if you just transfer the sites over, you're transferring over all of the defects of the current system. And so I think I'm going to take that opportunity to pass it to Stephanie, because she, as she mentioned before, did not inherit the defects.
All right. Okay. So, like I mentioned in my introduction, we had a really short history of using Moodle in Spanish 1001 and 1002, and the history was all mine. So it was everything that I made. I was just trying to figure out now how to use in Canvas. So I started using Canvas when the pilot started back in fall of 2015. So I used it, I've used it ever since, fall, spring, and then again now in the fall. What we used in Moodle was very similar to what 1003 was using. This is the place where we put our course materials, syllabus, information about the different components of the course. We used the grade book, some forums, some quizzes, and I also put like my class PowerPoints and activities on Moodle. So for the initial 1001, I worked with Sarah Schoen, who's in the back, and we initially just copied. We did that copy thing, Moodle to Canvas, and over the course of, even I think in last fall semester, I just started kind of changing some things, realizing that that copying business wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't working the way I wanted it to work. So I'm going to show you my current 1001 site in just a minute. I did have some difficulty getting started. I had to work a lot with Sarah. And I don't know if it's just my learning style that I like to kind of see it done, work with someone to learn how to do it. But once I figured out how Canvas worked, it's really a snap to use. I think initially just to kind of get that Canvas page that's just like a blank page and not exactly even know how to make your home page. That was, once I figured that out, it was like, oh, I can do anything in Canvas now that I figured out my home page, with a lot of help, of course, from Sarah. So, you know, I had this sandbox that for me just personally wasn't as useful maybe as it might be for others. So, and I guess it's a success. I've been using it in terms of, I've gotten more people on board. Well, my one colleague who teaches 1001 and 1002 with me, I've got her on board. And now, remind you, she wasn't ever using Moodle either. So, and she's all about Canvas now. So I taught my 2 sections of 1001 in the fall of 2015, and then we taught all sections of 1002 in the spring, and now we're teaching all sections of 1001 this fall. And we both use our own course. I mean, we have shared access with each other, so if I wanted to, I could go in and look at her course, but we're doing our own thing, and we share things via the Commons, which I'm going to talk about. But neither of us are really restrained by the other in terms of our Canvas sites. So here is my Canvas site from right now. This is the home page, and you know, I think it's pretty clean. It could maybe even be better, but this is just something that I've kind of done myself, and it wasn't super hard to do. I've got my, you know, information about me, syllabus, just this kind of course nuts and bolts information, and that just opens all up in a new page in Canvas. And then the way I've structured my course is just week by week, and students click on each week. So that's all I have on my home page. I think if I make it, bigger there, this is more like the layout I see, where you have the to-do list. On this side, it tells students what you need to grade, it tells students what they need to do, and it tells them what's coming up, both for you to grade and for them to do, which I think both my students and I really like. Anyway, so I'll just go into this week, for example. We're on week 11, thank goodness. And so each week I have just structured the same. I outline for them what's happening during the week. And then I have links to every activity that they need to do. So this self-assessment that they had to complete opens right up in Canvas, and then they take it. I'm going to preview it, but so I think the question layout is a very clean, very clear, not a ton different from Moodle, I guess, in my experience. And and then they can just click and go back a couple of times. I do like more of the breadcrumbs, like if that's the right word. Like when I click on this quiz, for example, I wish I had up here the link for week 11, so I could just click to go right back to week 11. But this is a video quiz that they would just watch the video right here. It does not open in a new window. It would just play right there, and then their questions are right below. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
so for
wanna-
me, the potential here is this is much more like a website, right? Where you click the link and you get where you need to go, and there's not this next, click, next. So
Yeah, so if you remember from Liz's Canvas site, she had the next in the bottom right corner that students would just keep scrolling through. And I don't have any of those.
And to make it fair, I mean, you can make a page in Moodle and put your links to your quizzes there and link to everything else as well. But again, I was working from a departmental website that was made 6 years ago, so that would require some movement on that front.
So I think that's my Canvas site. We wanted to kind of talk now about lo bueno de Canvas, so the good, and there really isn't bad or ugly. So we just called it lo mejorable. So what could be better, right? Let's see. Do you want to?
Sure.
We'll just kind of go back
I think
and forth,
we
I think.
both think that it has a more attractive and clean interface. There's just not as much on each page, and that's helpful. I think as consumers of online material, the less that you have there, the better off we are. The more we have to read, the more we shut down. And I think that's especially true for our students. I think, as I mentioned before, I think the navigation is more similar to a website. So that is very helpful. As Stephanie mentioned, linking things, creating things is very simple in Canvas, and I think even more simple than it is in Moodle. I'll let you talk about the Commons because I didn't use that.
And I'm not quite sure the level of experience, if any, that our audience has with Canvas. If when we say it's easy to link, if you want to see something linked, we're happy to show you that.
Mm-hmm.
And this Commons piece, if you want to see that, I can show you that as well. But what the Commons is so the other instructor of my course of Spanish 1001 and 1002. There's only 2 instructors, right? We can share materials. So if she makes a quiz for her students, she can import it or export it to the Commons, and then I can go in and search for her name, and I can import her quiz into my course, and vice versa, which is such a cool, it's so easy. It's just a couple of clicks, and then like magic, it appears in my course. I love that feature. I talked with my students last night, so I taught night class last night. I'm like, hey guys, I'm giving this talk tomorrow about Canvas. What would you guys say about Canvas? And I'm sure you get student input as well, but this is just a little bit of mine. And they actually said a lot of the same things that Liz and I had come up with, but right away they mentioned the calendar in Canvas and the to-do list. And to be fair, these things are in Moodle, but I guess I never really. And maybe it's because I started Canvas kind of from zero, right? Like I'd never used it before. So whereas Moodle, I kind of had things passed to me and then started working more with it. Anyway, but they find the calendar to be super helpful. The calendar tells them, if I create an assignment in Canvas, it automatically puts it onto the calendar and they can see that it's due. If I just enter, even if it's like an in-class test, I'll put it as an assignment in Canvas with just nothing attached to it, but it puts it onto their calendar so they can see that date's coming up. And then again, that to-do list that I showed you where it tells them what they need to do and the due date. And then the My Spanish Lab integration. So Chris helped me a ton with this. And it was kind of just something that, Sarah and Chris and I were like, oh, let's just give it a try. So to refresh your memory, My Spanish Lab is what we use for their online homework. And originally and traditionally, students have to go to a whole nother website to log into My Spanish Lab. And so we were able to work with the Pearson people, the people that make the publishers of My Spanish Lab, and Chris, and figured out how to make it so that students can click to get into My Spanish Lab within Canvas. It still opens up another window, which last night, students, they mentioned that that's still not super for them. They would prefer, I don't know, I think they just prefer no homework. But anyway, but it's better than it was, and it's kind of cool that students, instead of going to a separate website and logging in every time, they log in once in the beginning of the semester to kind of set up their account, and then it's there the whole semester for them.
Stephanie, can I ask something?
Yeah. Oh, here, hold on, Sarah.
I know that we had some considerations in terms of grading within My Spanish Lab, because it grades within there, and then I can't remember if we got it to transfer over or any of that, and so I'm just kind of curious if you'd speak to that too, because I know there's other My Science Lab, My Math Lab, other people that have lab stuff out there too, and would probably be curious how the grading connects or doesn't.
So the short of it is it doesn't, at least the way we're using it, and I don't know if, Chris, you have more info on that, but so I feel like there's different levels of integration of these MyLab products, and I don't know if a deeper integration would connect the grade books, but presently, no. The way I use it, I do have to open up, but again through Canvas, open up the instructor version of My Spanish Lab, and then type it. And I think you can actually export and import, but I don't know how to do that, and I just enter my grades that I see in My Spanish Lab into Canvas. Do you have? Yeah, that would be great.
I think the issue at hand here has more to do with the LTI specification than with any defect in Canvas or My Spanish Lab. The way LTI is set up is that you only get one grade column essentially for every instance of a tool you invoke in the class. And so in something like My Spanish Lab, where instructors are having multiple assignments and having sort of rich interactions with students, LTI as the integration standard is kind of a narrow pipe to push back the richness of that experience. And so I think in order to get at a truer integration between those two, what we would need to do is work with the standards bodies to see if we can improve LTI as the standard for passing these grades back. Learning tools interoperability. So it's one of a number of standards that IMS, the sort of the global educational standards body, have promoted as tools for integrating multiple systems together into sort of a common learning platform.
I would
Thank
interject,
you.
though, what Stephanie and you were all able to accomplish, though, has served the students, because one of their principal complaints is having to go to multiple websites to finish their homework. So in at least that regard, you completely addressed something that students were concerned about. And I wanted to, Stephanie was going to mention the familiarity that students feel that they've used Canvas in high school, so that when they get to the university, oh, this isn't new. And I just wanted to interject. I want to interject one little anecdote. Sorry, that is really important, because in my class, one of my students had used Canvas in high school, and his comment to me was, "I loved Canvas in high school, but I don't like this site," which feeds into my impression that this transferring over is problematic, and that if the university is going to switch to Canvas, that needs to be a campaign. Like, how do we get instructors the information, or departments the information they need to actually maximize their use of Canvas and not just copy things over, because that's the easy way to do it. Oh, okay. you liked my my high horse there. Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
No, yeah, I have nothing more to say on that.
Okay.
I totally agree. Get instructors the support and time that they need, so it's not sort of last minute, quick copy and paste.
Right. And I have experience building sites from scratch, both here at the university through another department that I work in, and I've also taught in different institutions where I use Desire to Learn. And I know for myself that I get the most out of the site when I build it myself. When I have to use a site that someone else has put together, I don't use it as much. I resent grading more. I mean, it's really weird, but that's just kind of my reaction to it. When someone else has put the content on there and they have done the design and the navigation, which I would do differently, I'm more resentful, I guess, when it comes to using the site.
But we're not bitter Spanish
No,
teachers or
no.
anything like that. And I think that goes to what I was saying about the calendar and to-do list, both things that are in Moodle, but I had never really explored or used maybe to their full
Right, and
ability.
you don't do that unless you build the site yourself.
Yeah.
Right, because you don't have time. Right, if you have to build a site, you have to build a site. But if you have a site that's given to you and you are busy and have papers to grade and students to meet with, you don't spend your weekend, how can I improve our Moodle site? Especially if you're not being paid.
Right? Do you want to
Oh, sure.
click on
Yeah.
to Lo Mejorable?
Okay.
All right, so my kind of number one thing about Canvas that I think Moodle is better, I firmly believe Moodle is better at, is the forums. We use forums a lot. So those are like one student writes something and then another student can respond. And in Moodle, I can see the whole conversation. So what student A says, what student B responds, what student C responds, and I can give each student a grade on each of their contributions. So this is so Canvas doesn't do that. This is a forum from just a couple weeks ago, and this is one student's contributions. So when I go into the place where I'm going to actually grade the forum, because on the forum, sorry to back up, on the forum like sort of page, I can see all of the conversations. But when I want to grade the forum, I have to go into the speed grader, and then all I see for each student is each student's contributions. So I can see the top one is his initial conversation starter, and then the bottom one is his response to someone else, but I don't know who he's responding to. So I'm listening to his response very out of context, right? Like, I don't, and I would have to go back to the original homepage of the forum to see who he's responding to make sure that his response makes sense. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So I feel like when I'm grading, and I don't have time to do that, to be quite honest. Like, I don't have time to keep going back and forth. So I feel like when I grade the forums, I am kind of taking them just kind of what they're saying and not really getting the whole conversation that I would like to get as an instructor. I'd like to see the whole flow of it.
Yeah, not having the thread is definitely problematic because the way we've designed our 4.0 questions are you respond, your classmate responds to you. And for my ease of grading in Moodle, one of the things that I did with the forums is I actually divided my class up into smaller groups so that the threads were smaller. And it aided with grading because I could go into one group and I could grade that group, see everyone's contributions at the same time, grade as I read, and then I could leave and go do something else and come back and grade a different group later. So I've found workarounds in Moodle that I was not able to find when I was using Canvas.
Another one
Okay.
of the things we'd like to see, and this would maybe happen just kind of
As a
maybe
byproduct of
given,
it, yeah.
Yeah, if the U were to adopt Canvas, is that it's not linked in my U, right? So students have to bookmark the website. Not a huge deal, but if someone's used to going into my U and getting into their Moodle site from there, they can't do that with Canvas presently.
And then the attendance features, it was fairly simple to enter it.
Super simple to enter.
But there's some reporting features that I like in Moodle better. And you want more statistics too, or more.
Well, I don't feel like students can really, I feel like students get, and maybe this is my, my own deficit, knowledge deficit in Canvas. I feel like students can only see like a percentage. So a student who has never missed a class has 100%, right? But then they start seeing like 83 or 95, and like, what does that mean? How many, because in our classes, you could miss 4 days, unexcused, no problem, but then after that, your grade gets lowered per additional absence over 4. So, you know, I can easily see that in my attendance. I can click on somebody's name and see how many times they've missed, but I don't know how students see, besides a percentage, how many days they've missed. So I would like for that to be better. And I'm not even sure when attendance, so it doesn't go into my grade book. It's not like a part of the grade. I'm not even sure that students can see the attendance. Anyway.
There's no student view as in Moodle? You can't switch views?
There is a student view like Moodle, but when I've gone into the student view, I don't see attendance on my side bar. Oh, and more,
I wonder,
yeah.
could they see it through the grade book then? Because that's where that percentage ends up, right?
Right, but then they see the percentage,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I see what you're
that's
saying.
not
Okay,
very
gotcha,
meaningful.
gotcha. Yeah.
And, yeah, okay, so, here we go.
So I'm going to defer to the gentleman back here. I don't know if either of you know offhand if there are ways to change that. I'm asking Chris and Eric. Okay.
We'll need to look up a definitive answer, but I do know that there isn't a block like there is in Moodle where it's possible to sort of foreground that information on the homepage for students. So I'll have to look it up and see if we can find more information about the student view of attendance.
And one of the things I've been working with my Moodle go-to person, Emily Stahl, is this the right name? Emily Stahl Richardson, yes. I've been working with her this semester on just kind of exploring what Canvas can do with course analytics. We've implemented in 1001 and 1002 this semester assessments. So before the chapter, we ask them, we kind of list out the objectives that we're going to be going over in each chapter, and we say, like, they have the choice. I can do this easily. I can do this kind of, sort of. I can do this with help, or I can't do this at all, right? And then they take the same assessment at the end of the chapter. So what we would like to be able to do in Canvas is to have a magic button that would compare an individual student's before and after, as well as sort of the class before and after. Now, I could open up each one, which is a little clunky, and I've yet to do that this semester. So that's one of the things I'd like to see if Canvas had just stronger sort of course analytics. And this is something that, to my knowledge, cannot be done in Moodle as well, or either. And I did start working with not Snapchat. I still don't work with Snapchat, but Snapshot, and that gives a little bit of information, but I feel like that's not exactly what I'm looking for either. It's grouping things that, it's like it groups things in assignments that maybe I wouldn't put in assignments, but they somehow got in there as assignments. It's just a little clunky still, I think, for me.
Okay.
So,
You ready for questions?
yeah, we're ready for preguntas.
So we do have a couple from online. First, just a comment to be filed under the instructors just can't win. Marlene mentioned that she created a Moodle class that was much more web-based on look and feel, but the students didn't like it because then it didn't look like Moodle. So, and then we had Kevin who, and you talked a little bit about this, but was there anything you wanted to do in Canvas but couldn't that you could do in Moodle?
I would say the form grading, so we've kind of covered that. That was, for me, the biggest challenge of using Canvas in my course. for the reasons Stephanie mentioned, that I don't think that I graded their forums as thoroughly as I would have had the layout, had it been displayed in threads and not individually.
Yep, other than what I've mentioned, I can do everything and more in Canvas.
But I will, one of the other things that was challenging, and Stephanie mentioned this earlier, is that blank slate, right? Because when Canvas comes to you, it really literally is just a blank page with like the U of M logo up here, almost. And so getting over that hurdle is a little bit difficult. And that's why I had some issues with the sandbox as well, because at first I just didn't know what to do with it. So even though I was given access and Kim was very helpful and sent links to me and sent me information about what to do, just time constraints stopped me from really diving in and playing. So it wasn't until I had my copied site that I had the imagination to start playing a little bit more. So.
Yeah, Chris.
I just wanted to clarify on attendance too, and I was able to verify my recollection. So you're correct, there isn't a way to foreground attendance for students except to expose the grade to them. So you're right that the attendance shows up as a percentage, and that is currently the only way that a student sees their attendance in the system. It is possible for you to hide attendance from them, and then it's completely invisible to them, obviously, but then you aren't able to grade it except for as a added assignment, essentially, that kind of thing.
And I suppose a non-technological workaround for that situation would be to put, you know, what is the percentage when you're missing 2 days of class? What is the percentage when you're missing 3?
But that's going to change every day.
Yeah, that's right. So you would, oh, okay. Yeah, you would have to have a really long chart, wouldn't you? Yes.
Right. Other questions? Online? Do we get them all? All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the wisdom we have to impart today for now. Here's our contact information. We're super grateful for you for being here in person and online. And we're happy to answer any other questions you have if you want to send us an email. We may refer you to Sarah or Chris or Tony, but you can for sure send us an email.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.